Hey everyone, I'm Steve Fulgoni again, and I'm here in this shop in the wood turning store. And we are working our way towards turning a bowl on our lathe with carbide tools. And in the last video, I took a brief time out to show you some of the Hurricane Series 2 faceplates that we just got in and I wanted to show you. Before we get to turning, which will be in the next video, I want to take another few minutes and quickly show you how I use those faceplates to mount the bowl blank onto the faceplate, grain orientation, what screws I use, and how I make that happen. So let's take a look. So I have a bowl blank here. I left my house one day on the way to come into work, and my neighbor had a tree cut down and conveniently left a lot of cut up logs on his curb. So I pulled my truck over, loaded up my truck with some of the pieces. It's not terribly exciting wood. I think it might be Bradford pear, but it was cut up, and we do a lot of demos and teaching here at the wood turning store. So I thought it would be a really good opportunity to cut up some blanks, rough and quick, not for finished pieces, but just like I said, for pieces and demonstrations like this. So as I look at it, you can see that it's chainsaw cut on one side that was left for me. We cut it here on the bandsaw, has a little bit of a taper. We did a quick and dirty, it's not even so round. But the first thing I'm going to look at is I'm going to try and figure out the orientation of the tree. So it looks to me, as I look down here, let me see if I can show this to you in the video. As I look down here, this is the pith of the tree. Here are some growth rings. So this is the pith right here. We've waxed and sealed this. It's been hanging around for a month. It has a little bit of a crack right here. Okay. It's really good for beginners to use a faceplate when turning a bowl on a lathe. It's not necessarily what the most experienced turners will do. A more experienced turner might turn the bowl blank between centers because that gives you the ability to adjust for grain. But certainly from a safety standpoint, faceplate is the way beginners should start out. So in the last video, I showed you some Hurricane faceplates. Here we have the 3-inch and the 4-inch, and I think that'll be fine for this particular blank. Now, what side do I put the faceplate on? If I put the faceplate on this side, the bowl will end up being like this, and there's a chance I'm still going to get some of these really grain patterns that are close to the pith, and that will tend to lead towards cracking and checking. If I put the faceplate on this side, the bowl will be this way, and I'll cut away that section of the pith. So for that reason, I'm going to put the faceplate on this side. So there we have it. Okay? Now, you could see I have this cut out here, I have this cut out here. So the best possible circle I will get is in this range. Again, it's not ideal, but it was for demo purposes. So I have a choice for 3-inch or 4-inch. In this particular case, I'm going to go with a 4-inch because that will give me the ability to use 8 screws as opposed to 4, and I think that's more appropriate for this blank. So I'll put the 3-inch aside. How do I center it? There are various ways you can measure across diameters. I don't really have a constant diameter here. I'm just going to take my dividers, going to lay it across here and flip it from left to right, back and forth, and that is about right. So I'll poke a little hole in there, give myself a mark, and I'll take a little marker, put a dot there. Again, we're not trying to be perfect. Then I will just look straight down from the top. I'll sight down and drop that faceplate right onto the bowl. I have an assortment of screws, and most likely a beginning bowl turner will say, you know, go into my garage and what screws do I have available to me? Probably what we think of first are common drywall screws. This here is an interior drywall screw. This here is galvanized. I think they're number 6. And at all costs, you want to stay away from the drywall screw. Why? They're designed to be very hard and brittle. First of all, they don't have a very wide thread pitch to them. And they're designed to be hard and brittle. And there's a very good chance that you would snap them. So let's take these drywall screws and get rid of them. Next thing is a common wood screw, available at Home Depot, usually a Phillips head. Compared to the drywall screw, the pitch is a little bit wider, but these still not great at all. Why? Because they tend to be soft, and the Phillips head on top also tends to be soft. We are going to be drilling into a thick piece of wood here, which is pretty wet. There's a real good chance that you'll strip the screw head either on the way in or on the way out, which is even worse. And then you have a problem. You have to cut it out. I've been using these for years. They are called stainless sheet metal screws. They're number 12. They're machined. They have a square head. They're 18/8 stainless, and they're just really awesome. Some of these screws here I may have for 10 years or more. I don't think I've ever stripped one. It takes a number 3 square head drive, and you could see how tight it is that it stays just by itself. Having that good fit in there is key, because if you go to a home center and you get one where it doesn't fit and it's loose and wiggles, that will have a tendency to slip and strip. So these are great. Now, what thickness do I need? I have these screws available in lengths from about 1.25 inches to 3 inches in length, and the length I choose is a function of how deep the piece is. If I'm doing a long hollow form, that's where I want those 3-inch screws. For something like this, which is about 4 inches in depth, I need something much less. So I'm going to try and get this right for you in the camera from a couple of different directions. My faceplate is about 3/8 of an inch in thickness, and clearly if I put the 3-inch screw in here, that's way overkill. And I'm concerned about a couple of things. I'm concerned about, of course, holding it, and then when this is done, this will be a bowl blank. And I don't know how many of you have ever had the situation where you put a screw in and then you turn your bowl blank, and the next thing you know, your tool has found a screw thread. So we don't want that. We want just enough. Again, just to show you, here's 2.5, and this here is about 1.5 inches. So if I look from the top down, I have in there about 3/4, almost 1 inch of depth. And you decide for yourself. I'll have 8 of those in here. You decide for yourself what you need. What's your skill level? What's your frequency of getting a catch? As an experienced turner, the depth of about 1 inch is just fine across 8 screws. All right, let's get these in. So I saw Brian McAvoy demo this maybe 10 or 15 years ago, and I thought it was a fantastic idea. Again, it's that square head screw, but I'm using a Makita cordless impact gun. Not a drill, but an impact gun. And that does a great job of getting the screw in here without chance of strip. So there are a few ways to do it. The slower way, but just maybe a little bit easier, is to take a drill. This is back to now a Makita drill, and I'll just drill a quick pilot hole. And that is going to make, using the impact gun, a breeze. So here I go, putting a little bit of pressure. Now again, this hole is pre-drilled. I'll move over to the other side, and I won't pre-drill this hole. And you'll see it takes a little bit longer. but still works. One of the advantages of having a pre-drilled hole is you get some of that material out of the way. I'll show you here. And you clear that out. If you don't do that, I'll switch over here for a minute. If you don't do that, you don't pre-drill the hole, you'll have some material build up underneath the faceplate, which can potentially cock the faceplate. Try it in here now without pre-drilling. And I'll pre-drill a few more. So now the beauty of these screws is not only are they easy to put in, but they're even easier to take out without stripping them. So let me show you that. Have one here. That's how easy they come out. And again, you can see holding onto that screw. Put it back in. So I hope this quick tip was helpful. Again, Hurricane 4-inch faceplate, 8 screws, 18/8 stainless, number 12, square head drive, using a Makita impact gun. Thanks to Brian McAvoy in Canada for that tip. In the next video, we'll put this on the lathe and we'll start to turn the bowl. Again, I hope that was helpful, and thanks for watching.